This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome to the Yankees Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carannante is on vacation, and joining me instead is Betside. It's Peter Dewey. I was considering not doing a show today at all. Oh, Thomas is on break. Why would we want to do a show? Gerrit Cole's elbow still hangs in the balance. Kinda, sort of. We got some helpful clarity yesterday, but also we didn't at all. So here to talk about it as well is surgeon Dr. Neil Elatrash. No, we don't have him. We just have Peter. But Peter is here to help us break down what we do know, what we don't. We don't know all that much, honestly. We wish we knew more. Some people kind of sold us that we do know more. But, Peter, we are still sitting here kind of in an uncertainty soup before Cole visits in person baseball's number one arm surgeon today for a second, third, fourth, fifth, ninth opinion. It's definitely not great.
No, it's not good at all. To be honest with you, it's almost a worst case scenario of all the Yankees things that could have happened prior to the season. I think on the team, you can make the argument that Gerrit Cole is the most important player they need to have healthy if they want to win a World Series. I know Aaron Judge is great, but you brought in Juan Soto to somewhat mitigate if Aaron Judge gets hurt, which we know is inevitably going to happen at some point. So this is it's brutal news. And obviously, the Yankees saying they'll have more information tonight after he meets with Elatrache. It's like, hey, I mean, great, but are we going to get any of that news? That's my concern. The Yankees are going to get the news. I don't know if any of us are going to get the news till God only knows when, until they feel like they have some kind of leverage to sign somebody or trade for somebody.
Yeah, well, if the news is amazing, we might hear it late tonight. If it's less than amazing, Friday news dump is just a couple hours away. Looking at a 4:12 p.m. Yankees PR tweet tomorrow. And if you're betting on that or anything else, DraftKings might be the spot for you. New customers, a sign-up bonus on DraftKings. New customers can place that $5 first bet on any sport to instantly claim $150 in bonus bets when you sign up with our code Yanks Go Yard. The best part is you will receive your rewards even if your first bet loses. Using our code Yanks Go Yard not only gets you these bonuses, but it also directly supports our podcast. If you've been considering signing up for DraftKings, make sure to use the code Yanks Go Yard to maximize your first bets. This offer is only available to new customers who are 21 plus, physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly and check that episode description for full terms of the offer to see if you qualify. It's in there. I produced this episode myself. I know it's in the episode description. Most glaring thing about yesterday. So I think we're getting a little bit. I also, by the way, agree that Gerrit Cole is the most indispensable Yankee ahead of Aaron Judge, which is wild. I've been having these debates with friends who say it's not like losing a quarterback. It's not like losing Jalen Brunson. And I agree. It's less impactful than losing Jalen Brunson to New York sports, but I think it's right up on par with losing a quarterback, given the way that this team is structured. You lose him for April and May, that will turn out just fine. I think the Yankees can make a playoff push if you lose Gerrit Cole for 2 months, 2.5 months, get him back for the games that are most of that offense is good enough that they can survive an extended absence, a quote-unquote minor absence, but that's the best case scenario. If he truly did avoid a UCL tear and he's back in June, that is the best case scenario. They haven't found a UCL tear yet. And I think there are some very freezing cold takey talking Yanks. You guys are the best. Your episode right now, that's your pinned tweet, is called Gerrit Cole Doesn't Need Tommy John Surgery. And the caption is like Gerrit Cole's UCL is intact. We wish we knew that.
We don't, yeah.
We wish we knew that. He doesn't have a detected UCL tear yet. But it is very important to note, one, that neither did Luis Severino many times until he had a dye contrast MRI instead of a regular MRI. I read someone on Twitter say that regular MRIs have 93% detection, dye contrast have 99. I'm quoting that from a random tweet that flew across my feed, but you know what? It's scary season, so it's the time of year when we quote random shit that comes across our Twitter feeds. Is that true? I'm not sure, but that's what a doctor said. And finally, one was revealed after many examinations, and the swelling going down, which was allowed them to detect the UCL tear. Also important, Cole's MRI and x-rays and all that stuff, it did go to Dr. Elatrache, who said, I don't see a tear either, but I'd like to examine him in person, maybe because they're being extra cautious. Cole, obviously very judicious with his right arm, one of our more cerebral pitchers, not going to want to just go with rest and rehab without seeing the very best surgeon to give him a recommendation. That's the silver lining, possible positive reading of him flying out to LA to meet with the surgeon. The negative reading, all of the people who cleared him at first for rest and rehab were Yankees doctors. John Heyman said 4 Yankees doctors read the MRIs and didn't detect any tears of any kind. You trust a Yankees doctor with anything? Dr. Neil Elitrash could read this today and say, this is a picture of a sandwich. And also the sandwich has a UCL tear. It's right fucking there under the bread. Like, I don't trust Yankee doctors as far as I can throw them, and I can't throw them very far, human adult doctors. So I was more confident when I heard that a bunch of doctors had not seen anything necessarily wrong until I found out who those doctors were. I heartily endorse Cole seeing this additional specialist, regardless of the result, but we are definitely not out of the woods yet. And the Severino cautionary tale that everyone is spinning today is sort of a major one to remember as we move closer.
If the way I look at this, especially with the Yankees, if there was good news, we'd have the news already. Like, I get that, you could say, oh, they didn't see UCL tear. The Yankees don't think this is good news because they are keeping everything they possibly can under wraps, because they know if the bad side of things gets out, they lose all their leverage in Blake Snell negotiations. They lose all their leverage on the trade market. They already lost out on Dylan Cease last night. So the thing that scares me the most, I think, is just we heard last year about Aaron Judge's toe that it wasn't a big deal. And then he missed a month. And then he says this spring, yeah, it's going to be something I have to deal with the rest of my career. Like, that's not a good sign, obviously. So it's like the fact that you can downplay as much as you want. At the end of the day, and I love the comparison you made to other New York sports. Like, outside of Jalen Brunson, there is no more important player in New York sports than Gerrit Cole. No question. If the Yankees want to win anything in the playoffs, they need the 1A, the best pitcher, arguably in all of baseball, to be able to go up against other teams' number ones. That's a fact. You can get away with a 1-0 win in a game if Aaron Judge doesn't play. You will not win 3 consecutive playoff series, and potentially if you have to win a wild card series without Gerrit Cole. It won't happen. I promise you it will not happen. They do not. Every single year, the Yankees do not have enough pitching depth. Every single year. It happens. You can never have too much pitching. They need this guy to be on the field at some point. The fact that this has gone to where it is, like, there's a part of me that just wants to kind of like chalk up, like, yep, he's done for the year. Just got to move forward. Just plan on at least to happen now instead of happening in June. And hopefully he'll be back in 2025. Like, I don't want to go there yet, but like, that's where my mind's going. Because regardless, if his elbow is damaged in any way, it's a bad sign. It's a ticking time bomb. We watched Luis Severino struggle with every injury you could possibly imagine for 3 seasons. Like, the thing that always scared me with Tanaka when he rehabbed instead of having the surgery, you knew at some point something was going to happen where he was going to have to land on the IL or at some point for something, soreness, whatever it is. So it's just like you're delaying the inevitable if it's like, oh, he can rest and rehab. If you wait 2 months, you're not only punting this season, you're potentially punting next season if he does end up needing surgery. So it's an absolute nightmare scenario for the Yankees. The only way it turns out well is if somehow he doesn't need surgery and he's superhuman, can come back and pitch this year. But again, like that, I think people have to realize there's a lower percentage chance, I feel like, of that happening than the bad side of things happening.
Yeah, there's some discussion of like PRP therapy and Elliot Altchek, I think it was, or maybe I'm just pulling more doctor names from my past, but somebody said we have enough faith in that regimen now that he really could be back to being himself in 8 to 10 weeks without that Tanaka worry. Though we have no idea currently what's wrong with him or why they wanted to take a second look in person. It could be extreme caution. It could be Cole knowing he is the number 1 ace in Major League Baseball at this point in time and one of the most meticulous pitchers we have seen over the last 5-10 years, just saying, I appreciate the recommendation of rest and rehab. I am not going to do that until the number 1 surgeon checks me out. But it could also be that the swelling hadn't subsided enough for him to get a clear picture. It could also be a lot of Twitter doctors have put out explanations saying it might not be the UCL, but it could be fraying in the bundle behind. It could be a forearm strain precursor. It could be any number of things that he wants to get a closer look at. The encouraging things, I guess we have to be encouraging for 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. Cole's stuff and command didn't really take a hit. he just wasn't bouncing back in the way that he's used to. He said it felt like throwing 100 pitches in the regular season and he was only throwing 47 pitches. That's obviously bad, and that's why alarm bells went off, but he wasn't down 5 miles an hour and the spin rate wasn't cratering. He looked like himself, which probably is the reason they thought that this was so precautionary, except for when he faced Daniel Vogelbach, which how proud do you feel now about bragging about your spring training home run? You hit it off a guy with an elbow problem. Congrats, big man. And the other thing is Aaron Boone wouldn't say anything yesterday because why would he? But he did at one point intimate that the swelling was not overwhelming, was sort of limited swelling. Now, again, Boone lies. Boone said Judge and him agreed to 2 at-bats the other day, and maybe they did, but they agreed on that because he was injured, so they left out a crucial factor. I don't believe Aaron Boone when he says anything, but he has been very cagey close to the vest here, except when he admitted it wasn't rampant swelling, and we proceed. So it's possible that the swelling wasn't obscuring the MRI. It's possible that we're just getting a better plan in place. I'm sure that the surgeon is going to tell him what happens if he did get Tommy John now. But there is certainly a possibility the Yankees could avoid the worst case scenario here. But even the non-worst case scenario is pretty bad. And we just wanted to hop on here and make sure that we don't know anything definitive. We know 70% of information right now, probably, and that's at the maximum. Because we still know what the potential doomsday scenario is. And we still know that he's not pitching opening day. He's not pitching April. He's presumably not pitching May. And what we also know is that Dylan Cease is off the market. Blake Snell is on the market, but too costly for the Yankees. Jordan Montgomery on the market, but probably hates us. Is there a Blake Snell compromise here? That would be the best case scenario. Michael Lorenzen is available. I think even if you don't shop at Whole Foods and you got to shop at Amazon 99 1-day delivery or whatever, Lorenzen helps. He helps put innings in the rotation, 80 to 100 mid-tier below 4 ERA innings. That's valuable. That would be fine. They should definitely go ahead and do that. Unite with Michael Lorenzen regardless. But forgive me for not being super enthused, and forgive Yankee fans for not hearing like, oh, good, no worries. Take your time, Gerrit Cole. We're talking to Michael Lorenzen. Or take your time, Gerrit Cole. We got Cody Poteet, pitcher whose name Brian Cashman forgot while appearing on the Talking Yanks podcast like 2 weeks ago. So it's not great. And you were mentioning earlier, and it's good to touch on here, that Snell's still available. And with Juan Soto in a walk year, I think at this point you either have to extend yourself for Snell, make yourself uncomfortable, or make sure it's not Juan Soto's walk year. Because all the pressure here is this is a showcase season for Juan Soto. Got to make sure he feels like this is a place he wants to be long-term. We'll make him a competitive offer after the year. You might want to maybe make an extra $50 million, even more competitive offer right now to remove some of the 2024 pressure, considering how this year has started. And when you do that, remember that Gerrit Cole has an opt-out after this season that the Yankees can void by adding an extra year to his deal. But if he's seriously hurt, he might not even entertain that as a favor to the Yankees. There might be some sort of little good faith handshake bargaining. Hey, we'll take care of you as long as you can pitch. We'll keep giving you 1-year deals until you're 40, but not right now because we have to sign Juan Soto and we're not going to commit that to our 2029 payroll. Just something to think about.
That's the thing that I'm very concerned. I know we've talked actually before when I've guessed on that about Gerrit Cole's opt-out. Obviously, it's a concerning aspect for the Yankees. But I think the bigger thing you brought up with the Soto is like they went all in for 2024. Either stick to that plan and sign Blake Snell, or make sure Juan Soto doesn't end up across the street in a New York Mets uniform next year. Like, I just don't understand the thought process. Like, I get it. You're going to have to pay a lot of luxury tax. It's annoying. It sucks. Steinbrenners are good for it. Like, come on, let's stop like beating around the bush. Like we're playing like, oh, we got to stay under the tax. No, you don't. No, you don't. It costs $20 to get a hot dog in that place. Like, you do not need to stay under the tax. There is no reason. Like, it's crazy because I find myself like, I wouldn't call myself old, but like I miss the George Steinbrenner Yankees. Like, why the hell are we pinching pennies over a guy who won the NL Cy Young last year? Like, it's not like they're like, he would be like our 4-star. He'd be the best starter on the staff without Gerrit Cole, with Gerrit Cole hurt right now. Hands down, day one, no question. It's not even a question.
Can I give you another one? Like, why are we pinching pennies? I miss George Steinbrenner. Why are fans pinching pennies? Why are fans on Twitter being like, don't you know he's taxed at 110%? When we tell you that on the podcast, it's just so that everybody knows and is aware of why they're not making the Blake Snell move. When fans are legit like, oh, I don't know, can they really commit 110% to Snell's annual salary? Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
That's the part that blows my mind. Like, it blows my mind. And the same thing, I mean, the Yankees have themselves to blame. They wouldn't be in this situation if we didn't have to give DJ LeMahieu a 6-year deal because we didn't want to go over the tax 3 years ago. His contract would be up by now and it would be over. And we would be like, oh, it was fun for the years he hit 330 and he sucked the last 2 years and it is what it is. But no, they had to pinch the pennies then. At some point, you're the New York Yankees. This is what you are. Everybody, the big bad Yankees spend, whatever. At some point, can you live up to that, Hal Steinbrenner? Can you, please? Because this is just, this is why I'm most concerned about the Gerrit Cole situation. If Gerrit Cole does need Tommy John surgery, there is a chance that he doesn't pitch for at least part of, if not a good chunk of next season as well.
Probably all of it. Yeah.
And especially if they wait 2 months and then he comes back and he finds out he needs Tommy John, there's a good chance you're punting 2 seasons here. So if you're going to punt 2 seasons of Gerrit Cole, potentially, you have to have some kind of backup plan in place. That plan either has to be A, extending Juan Soto and making sure at least the offense is going to be really good for X amount of time, or B, you need to bring in Blake Snell now, go all in this year, and maybe that convinces Juan Soto, yes, I want to be here. If you have Blake Snell for, say, a 2-year deal, okay, you mitigate the losses of Cole. But, like, to say, like, right now in the rotation, like, that they're set, even like, oh, like I loved the Stroman signing. We have no idea what we're getting out of Carlos Rodon, who has a chronic back issue. Like, he might not pitch the whole season. That's not a crazy thing to say. And so I'm just like, I went through a real deep, dark hole into, can Luis Gil be like the 4th starter if we need him this year? Which is unfortunately starting to become somewhat of a reality that they might actually need him for like a lot of this season. And so it's frustrating on so many accounts. Like, I could understand if it was a different scenario where the pitcher, we're talking, honestly, to put it perfectly, the Montgomery Snell comparison. If they were saying like, you got to pay 110 on Jordan Montgomery, are you doing this? I'm probably saying no, because Jordan Montgomery, 1, did not work out in New York because of the way they made him pitch. And I think he hates us anyway. Yeah. But 2, like, it's Jordan Montgomery is nowhere near the level of a pitcher that Blake Snell is. I don't think like we're talking like one of the 5 best pitchers in baseball. So the fact that they're like, oh, I don't know if we want to do this, it just makes no sense to me. Like, how can you not say either? And to be honest with you, this is the last thing I'll say, I'll shut up. But like, they owe it to Aaron Judge and they owe it to Gerrit Cole eventually, if he does come back, to at least try and win. Like, are we really going to let these guys just go through a season and just be like, Gerrit Cole got hurt in March. Sorry, fellas. Like, what are we doing? It's not like he got hurt September 1st and we were in a battle for the wild card spot. Like, we have plenty of time to figure out an action plan. Like you said, bring in Lorenzo, bring in something to make this season salvageable. The fact that they're like balking on that is crazy to me. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, I wasn't Team Snell for a while, and now I think the worm has turned just because, look, it's an imperfect 1-for-1 sub. You're getting worse, right? Either way, but at least you have to try to maintain. Gerrit Cole to Blake Snell is less of a downgrade than Gerrit Cole to Poteet or Gerrit Cole to Luke Weaver, which is what they're dealing with. They can survive it for a couple weeks, but if Cole's missing a playoff series, if Cole's missing a playoff run or a season or 2025, then you need a Blake Snell and money over prospects. I know we all yell about the Yankees prospect hugging, etc., but the Yankees tax is extremely real. We talked to Andy Martino earlier in the week for something that's going to run on this feed later, and he's writing a book about Brian Cashman, and we asked a sneak peek, like, hey, does Brian Cashman believe that the Yankees tax is real? And teams ask him for prospects of a caliber they don't ask other teams for, and he said, absolutely. It's not even that he thinks that, it's that is a real thing that happens. Spencer Jones isn't moving, and he shouldn't be. I don't know why anybody would be secure about Aaron Judge as the long-term center fielder or even right fielder. Love Aaron Judge. He's beat up on March 10th. He's not playing spring training games right now because his core and his toe hurt. So Aaron Judge is going to have to be accounted for at some point. Giancarlo Stanton won't be here. They're going to let him walk. They're going to need as many outfielders as they can get, as many bites at the apple as they can get. Verdugo's a free agent. Don't get rid of Spencer Jones for a pitching upgrade. when you could sign Blake Snell. I wasn't sad about Dylan Cease going somewhere else. I wasn't sad about Dylan Cease going somewhere else for that package, which was 3 top 10 Padres prospects and a lefty reliever, including one of the prospects we just gave them for Juan Soto, which is sad. Snell interests me so much more than Cease does. You're right. Jordan Montgomery's a number 3. He's an innings eater. He's a slightly higher ceiling Lucas Giolito in terms of serving that role for, hey, 180 innings. That's great.
That's great.
But, 3.8, 3.9 ERA, and he hates New York. No thanks. I want fewer guys who hate New York and more who like New York. That's what makes having Gerrit Cole so pleasurable, and that's why they do need to go and get somebody like Snell. If not, you better extend Juan Soto, and you better aggressively attack next year's free agency. Though Corbin Burns, available next year, I like him more than Snell. I'm not sure I like anybody else more than Snell.
That's that. I like Corbin Burns too, but I think you like also put yourself in a scenario like if Baltimore wins 100 games again this year, like are they going to let Corbin Burns walk? They might not. They might do. Yeah. They might do everything they can to keep him. Like there's a reason they traded for him. Like they're not just going to they might not just be like, hey, this is a 1-year rental. I just think there's been so much, and I feel like I'm a person who's given them a lot, but like the Steinbrenners have taken so much flack for, the luxury tax stuff and not going all in for years and years and years. And I thought I was pro Snell before Cole got hurt because I thought you want a way to get the fans off your back, a way to get the Yankees don't spend. Sign Blake Snell, go all in, you win the World Series in 2024, you probably bought yourself another 8 years before people start really, like Yankees fans are still going to be annoyed, but like before people are really like, okay, come on, can we spend? Now you have even more of a cop out to be like, hey, we're going to go over the tax because this is the only way we can do this. And like, we're going to try and win this year. And if we don't win this year, at least we'll have, we have Snell under contract next year. We'll go after. So like the fact that they're just like, there's so many ways to like get the idea, the fan base of the frustration of why we won't, like why they're not going to spend the money that the old Yankees would have spent. Just like you can do it. And it's crazy to me to the prospects. Just think about all the pitching prospects they've given up over the last 3 years. Like it would be nice, not that any of them have turned out to be, a frontline starter, but it would be nice to have those options in the farm system instead of looking at it and being like, okay, it's Luis Heel is like my next guy up and he's coming off of Tommy John surgery. Like that's not ideal either. So they've put themselves in a position where you can give up nothing and add to the roster. And all you have to do is pay the money versus we're going to give up 4 more prospects and hope that this one works out. We've seen them make trades for pitchers and they failed. And then you're left with nothing between Paxton. I mean, we're going to have to go down the list, but like you're left with nothing. You gave up the prospects, the pitcher didn't work out, and you're just kind of like, okay, here we are. At least if somehow Snell doesn't work out, the only thing you're looking at is there's a short-term contract. It is what it is. Like it's whatever. Like it can't be any worse than the Rodon deal was last year. Like at this point, it's like, hey, I have no confidence. I hope he's going to be good, but I have no confidence that Carlos Rodon is going to be a frontline starter this year. It's not an automatic, like given that that's going to happen. So it's just crazy to me that they have the option to kind of mitigate this loss. And it's like, I mean, the fact that fans are saying like they can't spend the 110, like, what are we doing? Yes, they can. They 100% can. It's crazy. And to do it when you have like a legit chance, you made the move for Soto, you made the move for an MVP, you have a legit chance to win a World Series. I don't think we could really say that about any of the last like 2 to 3 years Yankee teams, even the team that started insanely hot in 2022. Like, I didn't really think they had a chance to win the World Series. They had one pitcher. You have a chance to do that this year. Like, don't just throw it away. It would be horrible.
It would be horrible. It might be horrible. And hopefully we find out more about Cole soon. Once you're over the tax, you're over the tax. Like, you're already there. Just spend more money. You taxed yourself. Sorry. Exactly. You did it to yourself, and now you got to spend more money. Otherwise, why be over the tax at all? Why get to a certain point of over the tax and then be like, oh, now I'm scared? Like, if you're willing to go over the tax even 1 cent, you're paying that tax. So you better pay it for better players to make sure that you're not going over the tax for no reason. Peter, thank you so much. Thank you for your contributions. I didn't want to do a podcast about Gerrit Cole's elbow today, but thank you for participating. And it seems like the crowd in the comments agreed with all of our screaming. So I think that's a good thing. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on my Twitter at Peter Dewey 2. Probably going to be putting out some unfortunate Yankees tweets throughout this season. And then also fanside.com/betsided. It's where you'll find most of my written content. Been doing a bunch of MLB preview stuff for this season. So if you're looking to bet in the MLB futures market and do it at DraftKings, we got a bunch of stuff for you over there. You'll have, my best bets throughout the season. So hopefully there's some Yankees futures we can cash in on if they actually end up making a move.
There's a chance. There's always a chance. We'll learn more about Cole. Just don't count your horses. Count your horses. Don't count anything. Yeah, we don't know the details, but hopefully we will soon. And either way, I think the most important thing we talked about is whether Cole's out for the year and 2025. This is a terrible time for him to get injured in this manner. Whether he's out for this year and next or a couple months, the Yankees need to prepare like he's out for 2 years because you need major league pitching and star caliber major league pitching, whether Gerrit Cole is here or not. OG Anunoby came back. Let's get Gerrit Cole back, but let's get him a running mate so that the team makes just a little bit more sense and can make a legitimate World Series run like you are talking about. For Peter Dewey, I'm Adam Weinrib. See you guys next week.